Crazy X's mother tries to get me thrown out of university. My mother ruins their life. So a bit of backstory and groundwork. At the time, I was a university student in my second year of biotechnology. I'm autistic and have another heap of social issues. Suffice to say, I can't do emotions easily. Then you have M. She lives with her boyfriend, now my stepdad, who was very high up in high risk at the BBC, British Broadcasting Company. It's the National TV Corps in the UK, and runs a PMC, private military contractor. M works as head admin for the company, and most of the guys working owe her favors. When she talks about it, you'd think it's some James Bond level shit. Then there is the X, a real bunny boiler. She's lovely and sweet 90% of the time, somewhat childish, and feels like she's supposed to be 16, not 19. However, the other 10% of the time she's pure crazy and evil. Not that anyone who hadn't dated her knew it. When we were dating, she'd cause me to have breakdowns about once every 2 weeks and would gaslight me often enough. My friend group at the time just assumed I was going through a rough patch due to exams and uni stress. Then you have XM, a self-obsessed woman who is of the opinion that her little girl could never harm a fly. A very controlling woman who would puppet X to say what she wanted. At the time, me, X, and a few friends lived together in university accommodation. Basically, everyone has their own room and bathroom, but shared communal area, and all amenities and repairs are prepaid and covered for by the uni. It's expensive, £100 a week, but fantastic if you are a student, as you don't have to worry about fixing things or paying bills. Now we have that out the way, our story starts simple. For a few weeks, we've been rocky, she's been telling me off more and more, and I've been having more and more breakdowns. I was gifted a set of very lovely and expensive porcelain roasting trays by my gran. This was her last gift to me before she passed away. The rule in the kitchen was, no one touches them but me. X is cleaning the kitchen with flatmates and decides to put away these roasting trays and accidentally drops one. Friends say she did it deliberately. I wave it away and ask her to get me a new one. I assume it's an accident and put my anger to the side. About 2 weeks pass and we break up. Easter rolls round. Most of the flat goes home. I don't. I have work. She doesn't because whatever reason. And one other, we'll call her Libby. Libby can drive and has a car. Over Easter, a friend from a club both me and X attend starts flirting with me. This is F. And then since I'm autistic, I don't get what's going on till Libby tells me to take the poor girl on a date. So I do. I ask Libby to drive us. An X tries to get in the car, saying she's coming with us. WTF? No. We tell her to jog on. She keeps this up, trying to act as if we are still together, creeping on me, trying to get in my room at night, somehow always being in the kitchen when I'm in there, trying to wear sexy clothing ECT. You're supposed to tell accommodation if people are doing things like this. I told accommodation, and they told me to man up and just deal with it. Oh, and she stopped washing, like anything. No clean clothes or anything. 2 weeks of this pass, we're starting to enter exam time. My porcelain roasting dishes still haven't been replaced. I don't care about anything else but my exams, and those roasting dishes. They were very dear to me. So I politely ask her to replace them. She's in her room watching anime. Tells me in no uncertain terms to fuck off and she'll get round to it. She doesn't have time with all her revising. 3 days later, we have a power out, and I'm sat on the washing machine. It's in another building. On my phone using my data, and decide to find a replacement. I find one on Amazon for about £40, $50. It takes me less than 10 minutes and I send it to her on Facebook. She ignores it, so I send her another message pointing out she could even make use of my Amazon Prime to have it to me in 2 days. Then that's it. Never have to deal with each other again. She storms down the corridor and bangs on my door, screaming, swearing, and being a general crazy person. I finally lose my temper and yell at her to shut up and decide to lay down the truth and tell her that she needs to get her shit in order, replace the stuff she broke, and take a damn shower. She turns away from me and starts walking down the corridor, still screaming and being a crazy person. I grab her shoulder, trying to get her to stop so we can finally fix this shit show. She turns around and tries to punch me. I instantly try and defend myself and knock her over. F, who was chilling in my room, sees all of this. X screams and starts saying I assaulted her and runs into her room. I go have a shower and try to relax. Now this bit is information from friends and discovered after the fact. X hung herself via a choker on her coat hooks to make it look like I strangled her, then called her parents to say I strangled her from nowhere. You're supposed to take events to accommodation before it's forwarded to the police. X refused to talk to the police about it. F, however, insisted we go provide a pre-form statement. It's something you can do to say, this happened, this is my half of it. I am worried the other person will come in to lie. I want this on record. That woman is a godsend. XM turns up and lives in X's room for several days. You are not supposed to have visitors turn up for more than one night and only with booking. And starts making life difficult for the entire flat, trying to conduct an investigation and asking all sorts of questions. Eventually, everyone starts to avoid her. XM reports it to accommodation and provides a load of evidence that is falsified. I get called in and told what's going on and that I need to provide a statement ECT. I ask to see the evidence and the uni refuses. I'm 19 at this point and have no idea what to do. So I call M. She tells me to, and to this day I remember the words because she was apocalyptic. Sit tight, do nothing, sign nothing. I will be down tomorrow. Now M is a lovely woman, but she has this ungodly ability to terrify anyone. I'm not sure if it's a mother thing, or just unique, but my entire flat met her once before this incident. And I was told by all of them, if she ever is coming down again, give us warning so we can run. The warning they got was my best friend, let's call him Skip, and guy who lived next door to me, having her knock on his window at 10 a.m. to be let in. We live in a gated area with security guards. We still aren't sure how she got in. It's a 4.5-hour drive to my uni from my mother's house. And she was dressed like she was about to represent someone in court. So he shit his pants and let her in. I woke up, showered, and met her in the kitchen, where she had been made a cup of tea by Skip. He looked like he'd just been informed there was a live grenade in his rectal cavity. She asked him to go get everyone else in the flat except X and XM, now I say asked, because it was phrased as could he please. But we both knew if he said no, then he'd probably wish he'd have been able to drown himself in the teacup. I was then asked where XM and X were. I told her that they were probably out as they spent a lot of the day out, because I cooked in the kitchen a lot. And XM and X were told by accommodation not to be in the same room as me. M then proceeded to not so much interview, but interrogate every member of the flat for every detail about the past few months. She then asked everyone to write that all down and send her a signed copy. The next people to discover why my mother was feared was the accommodation people. She basically sat down with them and was very polite, in the same way a lawyer is polite with the opposition. They went from polite and warm to the same grenade in anus expression that Skip had. When she was done chewing them out, she handed them a small card and said, "Any further communication with my son is also to be copied to me, and my lawyer, both emails are here." It wasn't angry or loud, it was polite, cold and quiet. They almost ran out the door after taking the card. 3 days later, I sit my exams and fail, and several weeks pass and a hearing is arranged. This is basically a meeting between me and the university's conducts and appels people. My mother is invited to attend, followed by a meeting with X and XM, who have also just sat through a hearing. The hearing is in between exams and resits, so about 1.5 months after I sit my exams. In the time in between, I go home to M, and she has me see several professionals who ask lots of questions, write letters and stuff. M also gets me to visit the local Buddhist sect, helps me chill out and recover from almost 6 months of mental abuse. XM turns up and is glaring daggers at my mother, who greets her by first and last name, having never met the woman, asks about EM's other kid, her job, her oldest kid's job, and her husband by name, and his job. XM looks shocked but ignores my mother. I'm sat there trying to work out WTF is going on, and when M became some sort of information mogul, X is wearing some kind of stupid bell dress and actual fucking cat ears. I'm wearing a suit. In the hearing, the evidence XM provided is shown to us, and M basically rips them apart, pointing out that the accommodation failed in its duty to protect my mental health and prevent abuse. Atop this, she also points out that they took X's side without question, but were constantly questioning mine, along with several letters from psychologists, basically saying X is a crazy bitch and should be kept away from me, and that XM only made it worse and should never be permitted to communicate with me. The hearing just nods and tries to keep a straight face. According to M, they knew they were fucked. We meet with XM and X. I say that all I want is an apology and my roasting dish is fixed. XM tells me they'd rather go to court than apologize to me for assaulting her daughter. X is looking very downcast, and the uni people are looking terrified. It's at this point M stands up and thanks the uni people for all they have done, and that so long as this doesn't escalate, she hopes to see them at my graduation. She then looks at XM and thanks her and says that she hopes that she has an interesting summer. I asked M what that was all about, and this is when I finally got told the hand she's been holding. XM works as a school cafeteria lady, and if she is externally investigated on her via DBS for anything kid-related, she's likely to get fired. X's dad works at a bank that's going to have layoffs soon, and M's company is doing a very big contract for the company. And X's elder sister is an invigilator, and you need to have a spotless DBS, criminal background check for that. Last I heard, their entire life had gone to shit, and the only one still working was the elder sister. Was asked not to return to uni accommodation, and told that if she was going to be in the same module as me, she'd have to transfer module, or sit it in a different year. This was all about 2 years ago now. I graduated with a 2/1, and am now living with F. The flat is still good friends, and we meet up about once a month.